Merry Christmas Eve all. This is Hunter or Cifaretto, my character name on the Ascension Bronzebeard World of Warcraft private server. It's almost Christmas, so as you gear into the holidays, I highly recommend for people who haven't tried this private server to give it a try. It's free. There's a lot of new gear, there's a lot of new open world content, there's quicker rep farms, quicker leveling, lots of ways you can enchant your classes with wrath talents, new items. I highly recommend anyone who's played World of Warcraft to play this version. It's a lot of fun. I mainly play tank, specifically Protection Paladin. And I made a video yesterday about, just at the very end, I talked about some like reputation gear that you could get if you weren't necessarily starting to raid yet and you had maybe done some quests. And I made a build just off reputation gear. And I said something that I actually thought about. There's a Libram that I said, most of the Librams that are like reputation based are not really for tanks. For instance, the sand-covered Libram, which is from Silithus. I believe it's honored with the Cenarian Circle, so it's not too hard to get. And I was like, well, this is obviously more for Holy Paladins, a healing class, and it got me to thinking, looks like my friend here is noticing me. Well, I wanted to talk about something I said in the video. And that was related to the concept of a heal tank and how, there's not a lot of heal tanks on the server right now. I haven't seen too many. And kind of thinking about where Protection Paladin stands in the current tank meta on the server. So this is going to be kind of like a more experimental theory crafting video, because I do like to think outside the box and challenge myself with different playing styles, because doing the same rotation and same thing over and over again can get mundane. And I was thinking, well, with bear tank druids being probably S tier, probably the best tank in the game, where does that leave prop paladin? We have our niche with like better blocking, which can mitigate fierce blow damage, but no one's block value is really that high to make it significant mitigation. I mean, sure, it helps, but that leaves us in a weird position, in compared to like warrior tanks and shaman tanks, where shaman tanks get so much natural avoidance anyway. And like where I think Protection Paladin kind of fits in the meta at the highest level of play. Because most main tanks, like the best guilds, will be probably druids. They just have so much natural stamina and HP that is great for mitigation. And there's a lot of like great traits that make them really good in this current meta. So I was thinking, if Protection Paladin is off-tanking more, why can't I put together a heal tank build and make it somewhat viable? So that's what I did. And I kind of focused it around the Cenarian Libram, the shield, and such. Lovely. Lovely. This will happen sometimes. I apologize if this video is a long preamble, but I'm going to get into the gear set right now. Okay. So, let's close this stuff. Okay. So, with my reputation gear, I'm currently at an item level of 70.2. The edits I made gave it an 83 hit rating. You're pretty much maxed on expertise, and you can probably enchant different items to get to the cap. As you're off-tanking, your CTC's not mattering as much, and I'll go into detail on like fights to explain why. If you're off-tanking, generally you're taking adds that aren't dealing as much damage as the boss. You could be tanking Gar adds, which are doing nothing. You could tank, perhaps different mobs in the the second boss in ZG, the Serpent boss. You could be off-tanking the Sons of Hakar. You could be off-tanking the Magmadar dogs, the Gehenna's ads. These are just examples of, like, okay, you're not tanking the main boss. That's typically the main source of damage, on average. So where can we get more utility out of Protection Paladin and really perform at a high level? And I did put together a heal tank kind of support build. As people are progressing through Molten Core, I have seen people run a lot of 3-tank setups. On average, I would say most still do run 2, but I have seen 3-tank fights, especially with Major Domo, Golem Mag, having an extra reserve on Baron and Mag, just stuff like that. So let's bring some more utility to the party, and that's really where we shine with this heal tank build. There's a lot of focus on our spell power, our haste rating. I'm still using the same Mystic Enchants, but I will go over a couple Mystic Enchants that we could use. And now I'm going to start talking about gear. At the end of the video, I'm going to talk about the changes I made in my blockade build to make it more viable, where we do utilize our natural strength as blockers. Okay, so starting off, the Dark Iron Great Helm. With the Presence of Might enchant, this Hydraxian Exalted piece for our head becomes very, very defensive. Having the additional block value is nice, having the stamina is nice, the defense rating is good, because our defense is a little lower on this build. But don't worry too much about this. This is a heal tank support build. The alternative head would, of course, be the Cenarian Infantry Helm. I use the Synchronous Vengeance. I think you would have to, because this provides 10 hit naturally. Purified Neck of the Damned. This is an exalted neck from Eastern or Western Plaguelands vendors for Argent Dawn rep. Very much like offensive and healing and spell focused, so it's not like a typical tanking neck. But it does give you critical strike, haste, spell power by 20, which I use in this build for faster heals, and a little more damage with the critical strike. So, pick this neck up. An alternative neck, which is a little harder to get, I guess, because Molten Core is still somewhat recent on the server. The Hydro Pendant, you get a little bit of stamina, you get a hit rating by 12, you get haste rating by 18. So if you did have this, you could have the Cenarian Helm instead, probably without the hit rating buff. And it gives you a lot of expertise. So this is an alternative, but I am purely focused on more like healing and support with this build. So this Dark Soul Shoulders of Quick Defense that I'm having on this class, one of the pieces that's not is necessarily in sync with the build. Yes, there's the +4 haste rating on the quick defense, but this is really just for hit, and you need Honored Zandalarian Honored Zandalarian rep to get this item. It's a blacksmithing recipe. You need 300 blacksmithing to equip. Using the Cloak of the Shifting Sands, it's an exalted Cenarian. Yeah, Silithus one. Gives you an okay boost to strength and stamina, and I'm using not the flowing cloak lining. It starts with an S, maybe like it's one of the cloak linings that gives you +6 spell power, +5 stamina. It's a server specific tailoring enchant. And this is nice for hit rating. I'm not expecting many tanks to get the Zulian Tigerhide Cloak, which does give you 12 hit rating, but if you do get this drop, it's an alternative. Using the Argent Dawn Blessed Breastplate for a little more hit rating, an 18. Still get good stamina, good strength on it. Armor Pen's just bonus, really, I guess. And this is, again, kind of built off my reputation set, so I'm still working with it. You could maybe use the Dark Soul pieces as well here. and I'm using the Earth Warder Gambison enchant, which gives you a 3% increased threat, which is kind of helpful for this build because you will be having more of a flex roll in raids. You'll be dispelling, you'll be giving spot healing, you'll be perhaps seal twisting, just doing a lot of things. So it's good to kind of have some extra threat just off of pure damage. Hence the Earth Warder Gambison enchant. Sentinel of Amverses with the +9 stamina enchant to make it a little more defensive and get your health rating up. Gives you a lot of expertise. The Armor Depends just bonus. Also an Exalted piece. You could maybe do Zandalarian Freethinker to boost int more. I think, let's see, is it right here? Yeah. This could be a better piece, but I'm just kind of focusing on reputation. If you don't have the expertise, it could be better to run the Sentinel of Amverses because they give you so much, and you won't miss the target. Thermal Gauntlets. These are Exalted Hydraxian. A lot of intellect, which is helpful for the mana sustain of this build, because you will be using a little more mana. Obviously, you'll be giving spot heals to either yourself, the other tank, other people who are getting hit by AoEs. For example, in the Gehenna's fight, your job is to be a utility king, a support king, while still having enough damage to hold threat. Speaking of holding threat, a more offensive belt, the Crusader's Girdle, which increases your critical strike, your hit rating, 20 strength, 13 stamina, and a little bit of block value here. You can really use any version of the Bloodsoak leg plates. Like, if you're not getting the drop, you can use Raider's Commendation, because they really are one of the higher prio pieces, I would say, for tanking. I mean, even the base form gives you a ton of strength and a ton of stamina, and I'm using the Synchronist Vengeance enchant on the Bloodsoak leg plates. Lava Crest Greaves. 18 strength, 23 stamina, 12 fire resist, 7 stamina enchant. Again, hit rating, critical strike. You'll see a lot of critical strike on this. You'll see different ways to get your DPS numbers up on this build while still being that like utility heal tank. For rings, depending on how you're built, you can either go with the prized possession, because it does give you critical strike and a lot of attack power, also hit rating, pretty good armor, pretty decent stamina for a ring. I mean, not as much as the Etched Amethyst ring, which is a Hydraxian revered. This is a Felwood Exalted, or Timbermaw Exalted. You could stack 2 Etched Amethyst rings, as they're not unique. Get your health pool up quite a little bit more. But, you know, for my purposes, I like to have a little more of a balance. Because as you will be the off-tank in this build, you won't be taking as much damage. And you still have mitigation just from your natural traits, your mystic enchants, etc. And consumes, hopefully, if you use them in raids. Okay, so this is an Exalted Trinket that improves your haste rating. It has a little use case that is kind of like, makes you more of a Holy Paladin. Your direct healing spells cause the target that you select to receive an additional minor heal over time for 6 seconds. When this effect expires, a burst of 195 healing is released to nearby allies. So if you're stacking during like Baron Inferno phases, pop a Light's Hammer, pop this, help mitigate damage, you won't be taking nearly as much, especially with the built-in fire res on some of these pieces. And this is all just like about showing how you can play this Paladin class so many different ways. There's so much utility you bring, and I keep saying that word, I mean, I should stop, but it gives us an edge over other tanks in some ways. Defender of the Timbermaw, just for a little more defense rating, a little more stamina, and plus 20. This also has a use to help provide some healing to yourself. Every 10 minutes, you get a Timbermaw Ancestor to heal you. You get this little furry guy here. And I think this lasts like a minute or something. And lastly, kind of the 3 pieces I built around are the 3 Silithus reputation items. So we have a very high damage base here. You'll see my DPS for my main hand is pretty good. Even in my Bloodbath build with the Scepter of Smiting, I don't have as much DPS as I do in this kind of utility off-tank heal build. I know this is like, there's a lot going on, but that's kind of the point of this build, is that you kind of have the space to do whatever your party needs, whatever your raid needs. Cenarian Clubber, Brutal Crusader, gives you an okay amount of stamina for a weapon. The Critical Strike, get your damage chances up, some attack power. The Heal Shield that you can get from Silithus, Exalted. Ancient Buckler, very high armor shield still. But yes, it is obviously more geared towards healers. But in this instance, that is what we want. You with the +7 and stamina enchant gives us a little more sustain, a little more survivability. You get Arcane Resist, doesn't hurt against Shazra. 22 Intellect improves the mana pool, as we'll be using it a little more. You get Haste rating, mana P5, and spell power. And then I use the +6 Haste rating engineering enchant. I think it's the Silver Prismatic Polish. You could probably go for spell power as well here. It doesn't really matter. I think with my Holy Lights, I'm healing for about 2k. It was a critical, so I was at 3712. There, about 2,000. Let's just do one more for testing. And then flash heals are probably 500. That means the crit will be... Let's just trying to fish for a crit here. Well, it's probably like... There, 1,000. Double it. So yeah. That's the Healtank build, and like I said, like, it could be helpful for mitigating damage during fights like the Spider Boss on Mythic and Ascended. If someone else is main tanking, you have the room to throw down a hammer, help during those phases to keep DPS who have Rip Threat on ads or juvenile spiders. I'm just trying to explain this specifically so you can see the use cases here. And so long as you have enough threat with your own attacks and your own healing, you should be fine to run this set. It really does provide a lot of utility. It gives you a little more wiggle room to use, you know, a lot of raid-wide cooldowns to help mitigate damage and make fights go a little smoother, especially if you're 3-tanking. So yeah. That's the kind of heal tank build I made. And lastly, I know I showed off yesterday this blockade build. I got its hit rating to where if you have a Draenei, you'll be hit capped and pretty close on expertise. Oh, and for Mystic Enchants, I would keep like my traditional like one with full light build. You could maybe swap out Holy Wrath for like Glyph of Seal of Light for a little more healing that could go out. That's what I said in the beginning, like you could be seal twisting with this build a little more, with Seal of Light active. So long as you've got a good hold on threat, you could switch off of Seal of Vengeance and start giving out party heals. And that's pretty much the only Mystic Enchant I would swap out. Don't go for like Holy Mastery or anything. Like, you're not going to be healing all the time. It's just for those spot heals. Kind of help bring everything in into like stability. Like, you're not going to be out healing everything. It's kind of like old school like hybrid priest stuff that you'll be doing. You won't ever be like top healer or anything. At least I hope not. But yeah. enough of the heal build. Something more traditional that utilizes our naturally high block rate. As you can see with Holy Shield, I've got my block chance to 67.12. And this is what my blockade build is right now. Dark Iron Great Helm. Crystallized Amulet. This is a Stranglethorn. World Forge fully upgraded. And you can find it right here in the Crystal Vein Mine. Dark Soul Shoulders with quick defense. Pretty sure I'm using the 3-piece here. Same with the threat increase. The Ashen Cape. The Burning Steps Cape. Probably the highest shield block rating cape in the game. Very, very good. A top 5 cloak for tanks, for sure. Or Paladin tanks. Rune Golem Shackles. If you have the Mythic version, it's even better. Ice Forge Gauntlets with +7 strength to get your block value up. You could maybe run Expertise here, but it's totally up to you. I would prefer to run Strength, honestly. Unmelting Ice Girdle. Dark Soul Leggings of Stamina with Presence of Might. Stompers of Argentdon for impressive shield block rating. Inscribed Protector Ring helps you get to your hit cap and expertise cap with Draenei and Seal of Vengeance. Magma Forged Band, probably the best shield block ring in the game. I would argue. Unless there's a World of Forged one I don't know about. Firegun Emblem to get your defense rating to where it needs to be. I think my defense rating is good on this. Yeah, 200, and with a flask you'll get to cap. Echo of Asenia. This is not fully upgraded, so fully upgraded your block rating will go even higher. It'll be increased to 16 and 14 stamina in the fully upgraded version. And I am actually using the old War Tome here. This is to get my defense rating to cap with a flask. Shield block rating by 11. Alternative could be the Libram of Hope. And this is fully upgraded. Dreadguard's Protector. Very high strength shield, a lot of shield block rating. And I had the +10 shield block rating enchant. And for the highest defense rating increase on a weapon, I think, you'll have the Ancient Dark Iron Mace, fully upgraded, which is in Arathi wetlands, under the water, under the bridge. This is the fully upgraded stats. This is in Red Ridge, right by Lakeshire. And so yeah, my block rating is quite high. My block's currently stopping 393 damage, and I'm at a block rating of 37.12. So this is usable. My stamina's not as high, but with a distilled flask of the Unyielding, I'm almost to 7k. With Sank, I'm at 7.5. Then I can get another 300 with a cut Glossy Mightfish and a Fused Sizzling Roast, so I'll be at 7,800. And then with a Scroll of Stamina 5, I would be at about 8,300 health. So, pretty respectable, and you get this really high block chance. So yeah, you'll be mitigating Fierce Blows a little bit more with this build. But, you know, as to how good that truly is, I am not sure. And really, that's just it. I might do one more Christmas video, but I wanted to kind of show you these two builds that I've kind of finalized. The heal build is more like reputation gear. I think it's all reputation gear. And, you know, not sure if it's 100% viable, but it is something to note, especially in like 3-tank setups or fights where, you know, you're not main tanking and the off tank is, the ads are down and the main tank is just tanking the boss. Gives you a little more wiggle room to, you know, use Divine Sacrifice, give spot heals, dispels, cleanses, shields, lights, hammers, just to be a more utility player. I think it's really good, and I think it's a really interesting spin. So I hope people try this build out and report back to me. I'm going to try it out later, but until then, I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate everyone's support. Please don't hesitate to ever message me on Discord if you need help with the game, or just want to chat. Have a great day, and hark the herald angels sing.